Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of This Week in D1A Rugby, and we're looking at the quarterfinals. We've now got our semi-final teams. Cal, St. Mary's, that's on the west side. Life, Lindenwood, that's on the east side. But it was an interesting road to get here, especially with one game just really, I don't think, going anywhere anyone thought it would in terms of just sort of the type of game it was. Another game down to the wire, another game kind of down to the wire, and another game with almost 120 points scored. So let's start with that one. Cal has been firing offensively throughout the season, and really this is the first try of Massey Coy going over, and this is a case of a very strong, powerful forward pack, making sure that Arizona has to worry about them there, and then getting an elusive player over for Massey Coy. And I think that while this ultimately was a back and forth game, it was a game where Cal was able to keep the Wildcats at arm's length a great deal, scored 73 points. What the Bears have done very well is be able to get support on the inside channels after they break wide. Or how about this one with, I think, Rand Santos just scampering his way through and across the field. They're able to reload so quickly, get the ball out to Coy, who goes back inside, and then Arizona covers that pretty well, better than most, and it goes back outside to Coy. We had a couple of penalty tries in this first half, one on each side, so a lot of pressure on the defense. What you'll see, though, is in the likes of Joe Kirsten, Max Fell, run really good support and operate the support so they'll go out wide, and then if you over pursue, they'll pop it back inside. They can also go route one, juggling the ball a little bit, and then quick ball. Great catch pass. Another great catch pass. And that was Phil Edstrom in for the try. And, they're piling up the lead now is Cal, but Arizona does actually come back and fight a little bit. Well, we talked about this a little bit last week, too, is if it takes a long time and a huge amount of effort for you to score tries and you've got another team scoring them real quickly, well, that's the problem. But still, the maul going well here for Arizona. There's a penalty call for trying to bring them all down. So they managed to keep it up, and rather than rely on the penalty, why don't you just take advantage and go as far as you can? And they score nicely there. And here we've got a beautiful chip. This is just a little bit of a lesson in not giving up on the play and not getting too nonchalant. The touchdown doesn't happen, and what a great chase from the captain, Cameron Blair, the hooker for Arizona. That's why you don't give up on a play. Fantastic, inspirational stuff from him, really, because the game is kind of out of reach. But how can you not follow a captain who's doing that? They started Massey Coy on the wing, and he's also played a little bit on the fly half position, and you can see why here. Those two things kind of combine there. A little bit of a gap as they expect him to pass. He goes right through it, and trouble for Arizona. He's going to go in for yet another try. Great showing from him on wing and at fly half, and 73-45 in the end, Cal goes through. This video is brought to you by Next Phase Rugby, which is an app that allows high school rugby players to connect with college rugby programs around the country. Those programs can be school-supported, club, all kinds of different ones. 450 are already on the app, and thousands of collegiate hopefuls are also on the app. Download the app if you're a college, or if you are a high school player looking for a college, go to nextphaserugby.com. There's a discount code for the premium level for high school players at the bottom of the screen, and good luck with your college search. It's also brought to you by USA Rugby Foundation, which is an organization that supports grassroots rugby around the country, and your donation can help build this great game of ours. Also brought to you by Irish Rugby Tours. Touring is a great way to expose your players to the global nature of rugby. Go to Irish Rugby Tours. They don't just do Ireland. They do all kinds of different countries: Spain, Portugal, New Zealand, South Africa, the UK. That's just a smattering of what they can do for you. Go to irishrugbytours.com. And this video is also brought to you by Panther Rugby Academy, providing elite playing and training opportunities for players throughout the South and a more extended version of the South Panther Rugby Academy. Check them out. And I also want to thank a new kit provider, which is 8x8 Sports. You can't see their logo on this shirt, although you can see it on others. But there's the back of the same shirt because I have more than one. And several other great kit. And we'll be having merchandise available very soon as well. So I'm excited about that. Thanks to 8x8 Sports. It's 8x8sports.com. And the West Coast was still producing points. This one here, another one just close to 90 points. Central Washington against St. Mary's at St. Mary's. You know I said it was going to be a different game. Look at this play from Oscar Tracy, one of the many Schultz finalists who are in this report. And that kick and the weird bounce comes back to him. You make your own luck, especially with those kicks. Is you got to kick it and you got to go full on. That's a good opening score for Central Washington. And back they come, and they're going to run a pod, and John Wilson, the prop, goes straight through the loose head prop. He's a Schultz finalist, and he just goes right through, and he has to use somebody, and he sees Siale Ofa over there on the wing, and an excellent left-handed pass to set up the wing for a try. This is kind of sort of how it's going for a while, back and forth like that. Really good pressure from Central Washington, just working the phases. Very, very patient. I think that was important for them to get that and get that try as an answer. This is back and forth, as I said, but this was probably one of their better sequences from their forwards. Tracy kind of involved everywhere, trying to get in at the corner. Central Washington will continue to pressure inside the St. Mary's 22. And with a penalty advantage, Tracy's going to see that Max Farrington on the right-hand side is unmarked, and he's going to pop a kick to him. That's something you normally see a fly half do. This time, it's the wing doing it. And while the crowd wasn't too happy, the St. Mary's crowd anyway, wasn't too happy with that touchdown. Hey, AR is right there. I would look at it. I think you could get a really great touchdown there, catch it, and just touch it down between your feet. You just have to get the ball on the grass before it touches that line. Doing that, and then the answer comes back from St. Mary's. Another chip over the top. Dom Bisag, he grabs it. He pops it off to Sayose Pongi, and then he gives it to Sione Ofa, brother of Siale Ofa, and the flanker goes in. That one, a length of the field try. This is the sort of thing you see players with their hands on their knees because this is tiring. It's really tiring. And yes, St. Mary's can score from closer in. This is just a line out and maul off a penalty, and then popping off the back. Couple of passes, another good pass from Wilson, and in at the corner is Toyavao. Central comes back and pressures, and this is the sort of thing that just a little bit of an arm grab from Bisag forces that knock on, stops a try, but Central Washington does come back, and they run a play off a scrum and be able to get Tracy in. Tracy has just had a fantastic season. He's really sort of a game changer guy. But here we are, 53-38 now. There is time, but St. Mary's is up 3 scores. That's very important. Changes everything tactically. They're a little bit slow to resource around that ruck. In comes Central. Now with the conversion, Jack Dragoni was great in his kicking today in this game. About 2 minutes to go. We've got it 53-45. 8-point difference. What does that mean? That means that eventually Central is going to go and pressure again, and they're going to opt for a penalty kick right in front of the post. We talked about this with Cal Poly a couple of weeks ago. Yes, you have to do that because you take that penalty, now you've got 1 score, and even if there's just 1 second left, you have the opportunity to go. In the end, bizarre little ending, but they force a knock on. B-side tries to kick to touch. He shanks it. It goes back 35 meters. I think that was going to come back for that knock on anyway. But it was a close run thing because Tracy was chasing after that, and Ofa managed to kick it into touch to end the game. But I think the knock-on ended the game anyway. That's it. 53-48 for St. Mary's, and they move on to take on Cal. On the eastern side of the bracket, Lindenwood against Life University. This was just an epic battle. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit while you just watch. This is sort of how it was for Lindenwood. They both teams are just going at each other in the middle of the field. Defense is huge in this one, and both of those teams can defend. They played before. They played the playoff game where it was 12-10 Navy. So yeah, it can be pretty tight. The thing about this is, one of the main issues for Navy was that they get a lot of their tries from their maul. They get a lot of tries and points from penalties, and then when they get the penalties, they kick to touch, they maul it over. This is a classic thing. So what did Lindenwood do to deal with that? First, they just decided, let's not have mauls. The way to avoid it, first of all, don't give up penalties. So they didn't really contest the ball in the breakdown very much. They were careful to contest it and really a lot more content to just tackle and spin out of it and tackle and spin out of it and reset. All of that makes sense. The other thing is that they just didn't contest the maul. When there was a maul coming off the line out, they just stepped back and didn't touch it. They were very assiduous on that. What that did, it took a launch pad for points for Navy completely off the table. This was huge in this game because Navy then had to problem solve against a team that was quite content to tackle. And that's another thing that we talked about last week, was the idea that Lindenwood will play whatever game is in front of them, and they're quite content to just sort of be junkyard dogs about it. And they were this time. They made 166 tackles in this game. They, that's probably about, I would say 20-25% more than they normally do. They were just content to do that and know that it was going to be a low-scoring game and frustrate the Navy team. And that's exactly what happened. And the thing about, we also talk about the atmosphere within Prospect Rugby Complex at Navy. There's a lot of noise. There is a lot of passion from the fans. Well, when that passion and noise starts to carry frustration, that frustration can be contagious for the Navy players, and it can sort of get under their skin. Pressure from Navy. Ronan Krieger puts the kick over in a sequence where you can see that there's again some frustration. They wanted to move and get that try, couldn't get the try. Let's take the 3 points. No problem. But right after that restart, right after it, in fact, the restart comes in, and Duncan Krieger from the flanker for Lindenwood, now a Schultz Award finalist, as is Ronan Krieger, who just kicked that penalty for Navy. Duncan Krieg comes in and blocks the kick and runs it. You can't quite see it because it kind of fooled the cameraman a little bit, but he blocks that kick, chases it down, scores a try. That is the only try of the game here. It's going to be 10-3 Lindenwood. Can you believe it? And really, you can believe it if you start to look at the defensive effort, really from both teams. But, it was going to be something like a special teams try in the end. But you just look at how patient they are and how willing they are to just put their bodies on the line and play defense and not worry about anything else. It was a monumental effort from Lindenwood, especially on defense. But really, you could argue neither defense gave up a try, because it was just a blocked kick that was sort of not a fluke, but not really the fault of the defense in that sense. So a tough one for Navy to take, for sure, but Lindenwood is into the semifinals. And I think the one that was a surprise, in the end, Life University wins this game, and I think that's what we expected. But this one was a surprise because it ended up being a 1-point game. And Army knew that they were good enough to do that. I know that, but a lot of people didn't necessarily think so. And I thought that Army would challenge them for sure, but it was hard to imagine that it was going to be a game like on a knife edge like this. Powerful running from Life gets them over the line. It's held up. We're going to go back to a penalty goal, and they're going to start with the penalty. Bradley Crane, another Schultz finalist. He's going to go for posts. More pressure from Life. They're able to, once again, perhaps expose a little bit of space on the outside. They've tried to stretch Army from side to side. They do that. They work it out to the right-hand side. Now Wingard goes in for a try. And you see the bodies are flying all over the place, and Army's trying to stop it no matter what. And I think that's kind of the way you have to fight everything. Well, Army gets an early penalty goal, Howard Heller, but it's really important in the second half what they're able to achieve and finally get over the try line. And this is just an outstanding work from the entire team to get out of good passing, great break. It's a team try in at the corner. I think that's a really important one for Army. Obviously, it gets the game close, and in fact, they end up taking the lead 10-8, and that's kind of the way it's going to go. Life responds almost immediately, really. Running through it, once again, the draw and pass from Crane. That ball is a little bit astray, but they're able to pick it up, take it all the way down to the line. Seth Kramlich is there in support to get the final pass, and he gets in for the try. That's a huge one now. So now, with the conversion, it's 15-10, a lead for Life. So they're running exactly the same sequence. It seemed like exactly the same pattern of passes. And a Chance Loudenbach, very smart player for Army out of Washington State, comes in, interception. He goes all the way. Nobody's going to touch him. Great play for Army, and this may just sort of be the game winner. You never know. Right onto the post. Conversion is good. 17-15. Well, what are you going to do for your Life? Now, this is the thing about Life, is that they can explode and score tries from anywhere. They can quick tap. They can throw crazy offloads, get the chicken wing going, all that stuff. But when they really need to just be careful, they're smart enough to be careful, and that's what they are here, going through, working. Just worried about let's get a face. Bam. Ruck, back and forth until, Army gets a little bit too much on there. You can see they're not rolling away. See how many guys get up off the floor out of that breakdown, and so it's a penalty. Crane, no problem. He's going to kick that over. Army does have a chance to do something after that, but that's it. 18-17. Wow. So you've got Life versus Lindenwood. Those two teams, in winning their game, scored a total of 28 points. Then you've got Cal versus St. Mary's, where those two teams scored 128 points. So we're going to see two very different games, but that's what we've got left. That's it. And as I've been mentioning, Schultz Award, the Rudy Schultz Award, named after the two-time gold medal winning rugby player, scrum half for the United States when they played the 15-a-side rugby in the Olympics in 1920 and 1924. And he played rugby for Santa Clara and was decorated and served and decorated in 2 world wars, and was also a very successful lawyer, which is why we chose to have the award named after him. The top collegiate player in the country. We're down to the finalists now, and they are Ronan Krieger from Navy, Bradley Crane from Life University, John Wilson from St. Mary's, Duncan Krieg from Lindenwood, and Oscar Tracy from Central Washington. We're going to find out the winner fairly soon, but those are your finalists. Congratulations to all of them. All fantastic players, and there were a lot of fantastic players who didn't make that list. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.